stars, and that's who we are. We are voices. There's nothing to fear. Explode in your rear. Feel our voices.
Hey, welcome back. Voice of the Republic. This is Ed.
And this is Carl.
Yeah. All right. So, Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom.
Day 2 of our Temple of Doom episode.
That's right. And as you know around here, anything goes.
Yeah. You know, here's the thing is that's how it starts off with a musical number. I don't particularly hate that. I don't have a problem with that. But I will tell you exactly what I have a problem with is the moment when she goes into the mouth of that skull or whatever it is, and then at that point you're like, illusion destroyed because now we're in a movie musical production. You're like,
yeah.
Wait, what? It's like it would have been okay if it was just a stage production and her just like in the club doing her little thing, but then like it breaks and then like there's that cheesy thing where the girls like do the kick and they go down into the split, but then whoop, it's all played back in reverse. And it's like it's clearly like just like them just like, okay, now take that same clip and just reverse it. And you're just like, oh my gosh, like they take you out of the movie. Like that's the thing about narrative is once you break that, it's so hard to get it back. And I think that's probably one of my biggest qualms with this movie. And going back and watching it now, being like 30 years old, I pick up on like, oh, that's why I didn't like it. But there's just like a lot of wink and nod. It breaks that fourth wall. It's clearly like the homage is so just beating you over the head like, look what we're doing, and it's not clever at all. Whereas when you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark and Last Crusade, whenever they do something like that and they do an homage to like this sort of film or like a previous Indiana Jones movie or something of that nature, it's a lot more clever and a lot more subtle. Whereas Temple of Doom, it just whips it out and slaps it on the table.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And like I said in the last show that, I was reared on these old movies, so I was familiar with, the work of Busby Berkeley. And these musicals where, like The Big Broadcast and Follies of 1936, where this is the same crap that Lucas and Spielberg were raised on. So for them, especially Lucas, he's like, never mind Return of the Jedi. Now I can finally get the musical number, and my continual, old movie tribute masturbation fest can continue and be bigger and better than ever. So while I understood that's exactly what he was doing, and I was like, oh, and I look at my mom, I'm like, oh, it's like the Busby Berkeley stuff. She's like, yeah, it's like the old movies. I'm like, oh, okay. And I said the same thing you did. I'm like, what the fuck is that doing in Indiana Jones?
Yeah, and not even so much was it doing in Indiana Jones, but what's it doing in this movie? You're going from a realistic club.
Yeah.
There's at a club. It's all realistic. Like there's no suspension of disbelief necessary. Everything looks normal. You're at Club Obi-Wan. Wink.
Yeah.
Wink. And it's just like a regular stage show, nothing over the top. It's like all the production's pretty nice and everything. The little thing in the background that they're dancing in front of looks really nice, but if for all intents and purposes, it could be any club in the 1930s. It's just some girls singing and dancing, and then just out of nowhere, she walks into that hole, and then out comes a big musical number, and you're just like. And it just takes the wind out of the sails, because I was actually even into it because I forgot about that sequence watching it, and I was like, okay, cool, yeah, and then it kicks over to that part. I'm like, no, you just lost me. I'm like, yeah.
Right. It does another thing at the same time. It brings us into an Indiana Jones movie, and unlike Raiders, his name is in the top billing. Indiana Jones. And we don't get to see him because you're fucking dancing in magical movie land. So I'm on the edge of my seat, and I'm entertained, and the girls are really pretty, but I'm like, but where's Indy?
Mm-hmm.
And then it keeps going, and then the girls are doing the reverse split thing, and I'm like, but where's Indy? What are we watching here?
It's just so over the top. And then once you finally do get Indy, you get this bag of dicks in a white tuxedo. Because that's probably my other biggest complaint about Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, is that just about every single one of these characters is mostly unlikable for the largest portion of the film.
Well, I don't feel that strongly. I will say that is the second homage right off the bat, because when they talked about pitching Indiana Jones, even when Lucas pitched it to Spielberg, he's like, he's an archaeologist, but he's also part 007. That was, how he threw it at him, how he described the character of Indiana Jones. And while we really liked him, there was a naturalness that Harrison Ford brought to the character, so that when he would deliver lines that are very much like, he would say it, and you look at the guy next to you, like, this guy's a fucking cool cat. Now it's like, now he is James Bond, right down to the tuxedo and the shit coming out of his mouth.
Well, and it's not even that, but like his motives, because here you spent this whole time with Indiana Jones being like, this should be in a museum. He's an archaeologist. He's not a treasure hunter. He's very clear to point that out to you. He doesn't want to like make a huge profit. I mean, he wants his career to do well, and he wants his college to do well. He wants to help support museums. But right off the bat, you're getting this guy who's selling an artifact on the black market.
He's a mercenary right away.
Yeah, which is not really how I see Indiana Jones. And not only that, not only is he doing some shady shit, then he goes and takes a girl, a complete stranger, hostage.
Yeah,
what?
He wasn't watching the same movie we were watching when she put the antidote in her dress, So I thought, like, why did he grab her? He doesn't even like her.
But I mean, like, even when they're sitting at the table, he's threatening to stab her in the chest. Like, he's like, give me what I deserve now. And he's like stabbing this girl he doesn't know.
Right.
A perfectly innocent bystander who's just been up on stage entertaining. He's going to kill her. You're like, what?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be, and like once, and then it's just like there's a switch that once they get to the palace, that he's like, oh yeah, by the way, I am an archaeologist. I totally forgot. Let me put on my brown suit, and I'll start talking Indian. We'll get this all straightened out now.
Yeah.
Now I'm respectable. I totally forgot all about that.
Yeah.
It's just really strange, and like that's probably the best way to kind of explain the whole movie is as super schizophrenic. It's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. And it's what it looks like to me is, well, there's two things, because there's a lot of movies that happen after Empire where you can, and I know it's an Indiana Jones show, but I mean it's the same people. So talking about how Lucas tells a story, makes a movie, and how we look at the prequels, and a lot of us are unhappy about aspects of it. The seeds are all in the 80s. The seeds are all there, and the seeds for the remakes in the late 90s and the prequels, they're all in here. And Temple of Doom is the first hint of things to come, of what Lucas is capable of. But what's interesting to me is where they worked so well together, seemingly, on Raiders of the Lost Ark. The second one is almost like a battle of the wills, and I think that's where the schizophrenia comes in. Because like you get the wonder and the heart, the warmth that Spielberg brings to a movie, and I think this one was also written by Kasdan as well.
No, he actually removed himself from this production, and it was rewritten there, because I think they had the basic. He was in on it to begin with, and he started writing the script. But then he ended up leaving the production, and they brought in 2 other people to finish the script, and they worked with George Lucas on it. So.
Oh, I bet it was the Hyuks. Anyway, yeah. So that's the thing is, so you've got the what Spielberg brings, and even a warmth of the adventure, of experiencing other cultures and going places. And then you've got Lucas, who wants to get there using a roller coaster, or an explosion that catapults you through a wall, and that's how you get your destination. He's got this sort of Looney Tunes way of moving through movies sometimes, and that goes through dialogue. That's probably a lot of the dialogue was probably inspired by him, like the exchanges between Willie and Indy and their interaction, because we all know that Lucas and women don't always get along and work well together.
Mm-hmm.
But what about Short Round? I would like to know whose idea was that.
And then shake their hand, because he's the best part of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because
it's really dark. Short Round is like, oh, thank God, this is still fun.
Yeah, and I actually saw when I was getting ready to watch all this and everything, people talking and making the argument that this movie isn't an Indiana Jones movie; it's actually a Short Round movie.
That's very funny.
Yeah, but it's really, and again, this is the schizophrenia, because you have this guy that's like throwing people into harm's way, getting his buddy killed right off the bat, threatening to kill a woman, jumping out a window, all this goofy stuff, and then he has this kid that he takes in as like a surrogate child, and
yeah.
And here's the thing that's always bothered me about that is he's never really mentioned ever again.
Right.
He was never mentioned in the original, of course, because the Temple of Doom is a prequel that takes place and it was filmed afterwards. But but he's never in that one. I don't remember him ever being mentioned in the Last Crusade.
No.
And I don't even remember him being mentioned in the fan fiction, the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, right. Yeah, most expensive fan movie ever made.
I mean, that was a great episode of Stargate, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he's never mentioned again, and Willie is never mentioned again, and thankfully, I'm not missing her, but it's just like a standalone. It kind of feels like fan fiction. It doesn't feel like it's canon. It just feels like, and here's a generic adventure with your favorite archaeologist. Okay, whatever.
You're right, and that's why it was so easy for me as a kid to not watch it again. I didn't really want to watch it again, but it wasn't as good, and because it was so isolated, and I knew it happened before Raiders, in a way that made it matter less.
Mm-hmm. Because you're like, where's Marion? Oh, where's all these other people that we met in Raiders? Oh,
yeah. Because as soon as I saw that date, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, that's an earlier movie. Because I watched Raiders a billion times, and I was excited because maybe we'll get to see Marion and Indy, the breakup, the big falling out.
Yeah, or maybe this is how they met, or maybe this is how Indiana Jones meets the blah 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 blah, or maybe this is how he gets to become an archaeologist. No, it's none of that.
No, but we do get to see how much of an asshole he was before Raiders. That's what we're really seeing here.
That's what I'm saying is he is such an asshole in this movie. He's almost unlikable. I mean, there are some points where like the Indiana Jones and the Harrison Ford charm comes through. And I still don't. We'll have to just dedicate all next episode to Willie and his relationship with her.
Oh, let's.
Because I got so much to say about that. So let's go ahead and just wrap it up. Yeah, I know you guys hate to hear it, but we'll be back tomorrow. But until then, go to vorradio.com. You can learn how to contact us on the Republicon, voiceofrep@gmail.com, or 407-409-8749. Check us out on YouTube, iTunes. Follow the links on the website to our Facebook group, where it is very active, and you can talk to us and all your fellow Vorons.
Yep, Party Never Stops on Facebook.
Oh! Right. It's open 24/7.
Yeah, we want
365.25 days a year.
It's science, yo.
Yeah, that's fucking leap year, yo.
We're gonna leap right out of here right now.
Whoa!
All right, guys. So we'll be back tomorrow for Willie Scott. Park. knows.
So, oh, are we not going to do closing?
Oh, I guess we should.
Yeah. So until then, may the force
Be with.
the ass.
Punch.
Punch at the screen.
See you in the ring up against a giant ass.
I'm punch. Ass punch.